he's a CEO and founder of Mobecls. He is my big boss. He is the best boss ever. Believe me, believe me. Also, he is certified Scrum Master and Product Owner, and he's 14 years in e-commerce development. 14 years. Do you believe that? Okay. And we are ready to start, ladies and gentlemen, for you, Artem Pugachev. Hello, Artem. I can't hear you.
Hey, can you hear me now?
Oh, yes, yes, yes.
Hi, guys. Nice to meet you all. Thanks a lot, Nikita, for such a warm introduction. As you said, I'm your boss, so you wouldn't be more warmer. Thanks a lot for that.
So, are you ready to start?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, then I'm leaving. Artem Pugachev for you.
Could you please share my screen? I'm not sure if I'm sharing my presentation.
Of course, I will.
Hey, Martin. Okay, so here's my presentation. Today, I would like to speak about the way people, well, as I said, I'm working in e-commerce, as Nikita said, for 14 years, and I would like to speak about the way people spend their money and build their backlog, because usually backlog, that's something that could kill the business or make it thrive and bring more money. Well, first of all, disclaimer, I'm not a theory of constraints specialist, so we will be talking about that a little bit. But I don't hold any certificates. I didn't take any courses. That's just my interpretation of the way it works and the way you could use that for development. And first of all, I would tell you about my story a little bit, and then about the things I've taken from the theory of constraints and how do we apply that in our company and in my daily job. So my story started 14 years ago when I started my first job. My father, he was working in retail his whole life, and I thought that it's a beautiful market to work in, beautiful business to work in. But my idea was to actually be above that kind of business, above the retail, and help as much companies as I could. And the best way for me to do that was to make a marketing agency. I was looking for helping them to bring more sales and help them grow the company. So I thought that the best idea would be to bring them sales. So 14 years ago, I founded the marketing agency, and we've started doing the digital advertising here locally in Belarus. And this was actually a very good enterprise. We were pioneering the PPC here on local market. Nobody knew about that before, and it actually was working. So it was a huge success for the company. But for my personal sake, it was not such a huge success, because at some point I understood that throwing money into marketing is not always helping. So I kind of stuck, like, you're coming to a business, you're selling them advertisement, and you are getting the money, which is good, but the business is not growing, or at least is not growing as we wanted to do that. So like we thought, like, if not marketing, then how people grow the company, how people do level up their company, how do they make it a really different type of the game. And then it was clear to me that it lies in operations. It's hidden behind the walls of the company, and that's about the people who work on and do daily job. So when I understood that, it was clear that I will no longer be able to be happy with marketing agency. So I had to sell the marketing agency and founded the development agency, to serve operations and help people grow business through these servants. And my first 5 years in in the agency, I remember that I was working as much as possible as the project manager, and I wanted to get involved in as much as possible businesses, understand their problems. We worked through all the main markets in United States, in Europe, even in Asia and Russia. So it was very interesting to see like what drives people, what makes customers tick, how do they level up their game, and things like that. And we were constantly supporting them with the development. And lately, when the COVID happens, the problem of selecting what specific issues should be done, what features should be developed, became more and more relevant just because, the COVID, everyone stays at home. Companies, they don't spend budget on different offline stuff. So it means that the budget flows into the online sales and development. And that is actually turned out to be a problem because no one knows how to choose and set the priorities in the right way, like what to do. And especially that was happening with the startups and even with the mid-sized business, but because of the different reasons. So I decided to make a presentation to share our approach, my approach on helping our customers understand what things to do. And first, we analyzed our customers. We checked how do they decide what to do now. And usually, this is one of 4 types of decisions. So first of all, usually in the companies or in businesses, there is one person who is actually very energetic and would like to do stuff, would like to deliver things. And he's usually, the biggest problem is that he's usually understands just 1, 2, 3 areas and doesn't understand the whole business. And he drives changes in the company, but he drives changes into his directions, into the things that he understands about. And that's not necessarily brings a lot of value to the company itself. Another way of deciding on the features is when management gets excited. That's actually the most loved by our project managers because that's the hardest to fight against. That's when the management gets excited about something. So sometimes the owner or the CEO of the company goes to the competitor's website and sees some cool, nice feature, and then he's getting obsessed with that and like, okay, we need to do that, or we need to do this, and like, why don't you do that? And they keep pushing and pushing and pushing until the team does that. But actually, if you think about that, they don't do any analysis. They don't always think about the value to the customers, and it's sometimes driven by just the feeling of competition inside of them, and like we shouldn't be worse than our customers. And well, it doesn't bring a lot of value to the company either. And there are 2 more things that happen to more mature companies. First one is that sometimes people decide on features. Well, sometimes they get decided on their own. There is a person who works with development and the person who drives that area of the business. And he's just gathering the problems from different departments in the business. And he actually does things from those departments that ping him most or push him most. So it's not actually the value for the company, but it's the value for the department. And sometimes department, they don't see the value in other parts or the problems they even create in other parts of the company. And another thing of the mature companies is that they love to do things imperfect. And this is the problem. Just we'll talk a little bit more about that in future. But by now, that's, like 20 or 30% of our development time we spend on nailing the things when they should not be nailed or should not be done in such a good way that people think they should. And we consider that by the analysis and analytics that we do, but it's difficult to work against the will of the owner or CEO of the company. So we started asking our customers, like, have you actually ever stopped to think, like, what should we do next and what would bring value next to the company? And those were the answers we were getting. Those were the picture we were seeing. And theory of constraints, that's the best answer for that. Theory of constraints, it's actually, that's a theory that believes that, well, let's talk about the business. It's the theory about everything, but we'll talk about the business. And theory of constraints considers a business as a process of creating and delivering the value to the customer through specific stages. That's number one. And number two is that at any given time, there is one, well, or two couple of specific limitations that do not allow your company to grow further. And by growing, I mean create and deliver more value to the customer or deliver it quicker. And the theory is pretty simple in its nutshell. It's just about, like, find that limitation, decrease the impact of that limitation, remove that limitation, and find the next limitation. And that's actually seems pretty simple, but takes time and effort to master that. When we were considering applying that to our customers, we had to understand what are the problems of them, and we had to understand our companies. And most of our companies could be divided into three different types of the customers. So those are the startups. The startups, the established companies, and the mid-sized businesses. The startups, that's the companies who are still not having enough sales to provide, safe future for the company. So those people, those businesses, they are still thinking, like, whether we will be able to sell. Do we understand why people buy? Do we know how to survive that market? And this is usually the projects that we do a lot for people who just starts the business, or gets money from somewhere else, or starts the business. Sometimes that's also the offline businesses that already have an established business, but they are starting just now with the online business. That also goes for the startups. Well, then the next part of the business is the established business. Those are the businesses that they already know how to sell. They already know how to get the value, get the profit from the customers. They do have some understanding of the customers, their need, but still they're not that secure about their future, and they are, they're still in the process of creating the company, creating the enterprise. So they still hiring the people, creating the positions, put teams in place, departments. Well, in the mid-sized business, that's already an established business, like from 10 million turnover a year to 70 million a year. And those are the companies who already have, who already not thinking about the sales at all. And their value actually depends on the internal operations. And those companies, they do have teams, they do have departments, but not necessarily working as a good, solid mechanism when everyone knows what other party is doing. So those are our customers, and we know the problems they have by when they're selecting the features. So I would like to talk about that. Oh, actually, the corporations, they are good in selecting the features, because they do have the dedicated team for that. They do understand the information, but the problem is that corporations, they are, dive deep into the politics and communication, and by the time they implement in the future, it's not longer the best option usually. So we're not talking about corporations here, but more about startups, established companies, and mid-sized companies. The startup issues, that's the companies. You should remember that this is the company that took the money from somewhere else and started a new venture. They do not know what people need. They do not understand why people would buy from them. And usually those people, when they come and start the website, they are putting too much efforts into the design and into making things good, which is bad. This is not very logical, but the problem is that they think like, well, I'm starting a new venture and it should be perfectly good, and I should create a perfect picture for my customers so that they come to my website, they see like legit good business, and they buy from us. But this is not the way it works, and this is not why people buy things from websites. And this is the problem number one. Usually, it's either they do not know about that, and they do not know about why people buy from them, or it's sometimes they put more money into design, into making the design, rather than into the things to stand out with the things they really win the competition. So here, the advice for the startups would be not to put too much efforts, not to put too much. Hi guys, everyone. I actually missed all the questions that were in chat, but probably will answer them later. So the idea here is not to put too much money into the design, and instead of get to the customer earlier, quicker, understand what drives them, what ticks them, and why would they buy from you. And there could be many reasons for that. For example, you could have, if you speak about the market of the computers, PC, and stuff, that could be just the presence of particular products that are not available at other different, companies or businesses or websites, or that could be your communication to the vendors and your relationship to vendors and suppliers who allow you to put better price on your website. And it could be different things. It could be the loyalty program. It could be the usability of the site in terms of, there are B2B businesses who put people in place and would like to, buy a lot of stuff easily in a short amount of time. So what do you have to do? You have to show off that particular thing. If you understand why people buy, you should put that in first place. Not the design, not the things, not doing the other things perfectly, but this particular thing. Because if you do have that thing, why people would buy from you, they would buy from you even with bad design. But you would have money, you would have time to, bring better design. And then you just, it would be just a question to convince your customers that you are constantly developing and making it better and better. Well, and the same goes for the inadequate wish to do things good. Like you don't have to nail down every feature. You just have to do it marketable. You have to do that acceptable for the customer, but no more. And don't spend more money on that. On this stage, it's better to put money either on user experience and analytics when you are trying to understand, like you brought the money, you put the money into the investment, and you get the people, you get the buyers, and then you're just trying to understand why did they buy, and what else have you do to let them buy. So put more money in it. Put more money in understanding the data, getting the user experience, not the design. That's different stuff. and put more money in standing out from your competitors and showing off what you're good at. That would be the advice for the startups, and that's the biggest issues we've noticed with our customers. If we move to established businesses, there are different sorts of the issues with them. The biggest problem here is that it's already not a startup in terms of the finances. They already have kind of secure future for at least a year, but in terms of the management structure, in terms of the teams, they're still on early stage of the forming of the company, and this is the problem, because usually when that happens, that the owner put some person in place who should decide on the website, but usually that person also decides on different other areas, and they just don't have enough time to think clear and well about things. They don't have enough time to make decisions about how to make things, or describe them well. They just don't have enough time to do their job well. That's the biggest problem we've seen with the established companies, because they either don't have a dedicated person, or they do have a dedicated person who also has great area of responsibilities that are not connected to the website and development, and that's a problem. That's a problem because it doesn't allow them to do things good. Another thing with the established businesses is that companies starting hiring the new people into the company, and they could put someone in place responsible for the development. But here the problem is that new people, when they come to the company, they don't see other departments, they don't see the whole chain, and sometimes they don't even understand the value and the reason why customers buy from that company, and that's the biggest problem. So it means that when they make some decisions on what to do, what to develop, what features are the most have the highest priorities, they decided on their own, understanding of the business. They decide on the management that saw some stuff at competitors' website, and it's just not that great job. So an advice here would be, when you put a dedicated person, you should involve him in all the areas of the company. He should be understanding the suppliers, the relationship with suppliers. He should be understanding the warehouse and the problems at warehouse. He should be understanding the delivery process, and he actually should be able to talk to customers and understand their problems, feelings, and things they just would like to tell to your brand. And actually, corporations are pretty good at that, at making such people. There are some cool rules in some companies. For example, when someone new is hired by the company, he has to work through the whole chain of value creation and delivery. So first he works a couple of days at production, and then he works with suppliers, then he works with facilities and warehouses, then he works with the delivery department. I mean, like literally taking the parcel, packing everything, and then sending it. And that's actually gives a great understanding of the business, of the value, of the way things are done. And then if you put that kind of person in charge of the web development, he will really be able to deliver the great value to the customers and to the team, to your employees. So that would be a nice thing to do. Well, and if we move to the mid-sized business, those are the companies who already have people in place. They have teams, but they have the most difficult problems to work with. It's just, and the problem is here is that they sometimes do know what to do. They sometimes have teams, have information, but they are either slow in making the decision or slow in executing that, or releasing that. And this is also a problem. This is a problem because in everyday's life, especially with Magento, our main business was with Magento the last couple of years. And if you take a look at Magento history, then it was Magento 1, then it was Magento 2, then it was Magento 2.2 that didn't support Magento, the previous versions of the Magento. Then it was PHP 8 that didn't support the PHP 7. Then it became the PWA that didn't support. The world constantly changing, and the feature and the technology you choose, it actually decides for you about the future possibilities that you would have. And you either have to make it really quickly and implement that to get the value out of it, or you should not even get to that decision. So with mid-sized businesses, I'm sorry, I'll take a sip. By the way, I'm Russian, but this is not vodka. Because I've been drinking that with some of customers during the meeting, and this is just the water, but because of the glass, they think like, hey man, are you drinking the vodka? How cold is that? This is just the water. So with mid-sized businesses, you just have to release early and get the feedback early from them, or get the feedback from the employees. Because with mid-sized business, the greatest value that web development can bring you is not the front-end part. I mean, the front-end part, that's the part that customers interact with. But this is actually the back-end part. That's the part that your employees interact. So you do have finances, you do have people, the buyers, people who talk to suppliers. You do have the people who work in warehouses. You do have people who work with accountancy, people who work with the delivery, and they all should have the right tools and the right processes. And with mid-sized business, the best development is the development that actually helps create better, bigger, and quicker value to your customers through bettering your operations. So it means that when you do that, you're not losing your face between your customers. You're not, getting bad PR from your customers. So it means that you have delivered earlier and get earlier feedback. And usually what happens here is that someone from management tells to the guy who's in charge of the web development that there is a problem in this particular department and they would like to make an improvement. Then the guy goes to the department, gets some understanding what they would need to do. And the problem is that usually what they build just the understanding of the person who was in charge of the web development of what should be done. And only when they deliver that to the employee who actually needed that for their work, they would tell you like whether it's comfortable or not comfortable to work with, whether there are any additional cases that should be covered with that tool or not. So here you should be releasing early and getting feedback early. And you could actually use Scrum or Agile methods to do that. Well, another thing another advice to the mid-sized business is to talk to one another, because we do have a tradition when we send our project managers to the offices of our customers, and they work there for a week. And usually when they work there, they do their daily job for our company, but they're actually sitting in the office of the company, and they do have a possibility to talk to the people in places that actually create and deliver the value to customers, like people who send the parcels, people who create the finance reports, people who decide what to buy and purchase from suppliers. And when they talk to those employees, they really could see how they could bring value to them, and by doing that to create a greater or quicker value to the customers. So what it means is that when you are in charge of your e-commerce business, for sure you are looking a lot to your competitors or in conference talking to other people, but you should also talk to your employees and get feedback from them. And also talk to customers, apparently. Well, and there is one more thing that I've highlighted is that if you can't get to implementation in 1 month, or I don't know, for different companies that could be a different number, but just limit your decision-making period to some specific date or number of days. Because if you can't in some time, you should not get to that discussion at all, and you should just close the discussion and not even start discussing that. That's a very good rule, and it was very handy to some of our customers. In general, when you think about the features that you have to build, you should think about the whole value that you create to your customers, because usually it's very easy to spend money and spend your time on things that are bothering you, ticking you, pinging you from other departments. But you should always think like, what value would I create to our customers? Would it be quicker? Would it be greater? Would it be better? And like, how much would it be better? And usually when we help our customers, e-commerce managers, to decide on features, we have two things to consider. That's the impact of the feature, like how many customers would that impact, and even that's a feature for internal company, for internal employees. We still consider like, if we bring that feature in place, how many customers would be affected by result of that feature. This is number one thing. Number two thing is to look for the easiness of the feature, of the development of that feature. Because if the value is great and it's easy to do, then that would probably go higher in the priority. And the third thing is that if you have a really big project, then you just cut it in small projects and do it in the same way as you did before. In general, you just think about the tools, processes, and people. So spend some time on building tools for your people and use your website, get things interconnected one to another. Help them to define the best process, and again, use the website for that, use the tools for that, because like make the blueprints that would help people to do good job and not allow them to do the bad job. And then train people to see the value in everything they do. In that way, they will be able to, bring you good ideas, like what to do better, and what to develop now. What's the biggest priority now? That's basically it. The main idea that I wanted to bring to you is that you should stop sometime and think. That's someone is writing to me. So the main idea is that you should sometimes stop and think like, what's the best thing to do? What's the best thing to do for my company, for my customers, and like really have. Oh, I'm sorry for that. And I'll just. Is it here, Nikita? Can you hear that sound?
Yeah, I can hear it well.
Okay. Sorry for that.
It's okay.
Yeah. So the main idea was like, you just have to stop and think what's the best value that I could create with my web development right now for the company to get the quicker value or greater value to our customers. And here's the book that you may read. That's actually a very good novel. So you may read it as a, just a fun reading, but it also gives you the understanding how can you make your company and bring your company to the very next level. So that's basically what I wanted to tell you about today. So if you have any questions, or if you need any help, or if you would like to tell me some cool stories about the way you found how to set priorities for the features, I would love to hear them, discuss them. Please use my email or even my phone number. You can use the WhatsApp or Telegram, and let's just get in contact and see how can I help you, or what interesting stuff we could discuss together.
Or you can use our chat to ask your questions if you got them.
That would work too.
Yeah, maybe Artem, maybe you can tell us about some features or some secrets. How do you build a process in our company due to these COVID times? And maybe about some issues.
Well, I can see a couple of questions here. So first of all, what's the secret, or what's the nicest feature to do? The thing is that there are no secrets, and for different companies on different stages with different operations. Okay, some people say that they couldn't see the presentation. After the summit, we would send all the presentations, so you will be able to see them, read them, and so you'll have it, Alexander. The secret, there is no secret. I remember that one of our PMs was at the facility at customer, and he just saw how people in the warehouse they were spending too much time into finding the right product for the parcel. They actually had to go, to very, very far of the warehouse, which is like 500 meters, and find something there and then get back. And this was like crazy, like, man, why do you spend so much time? And I remember that they were able to send like 400 parcels per day. And just seeing that, we've built for them a small app. It actually wasn't too much of an investment, a small app to read information about the product and build a trip map, like where should you go and how should you go in your facility to get all the products for like 100 orders. And after that they were able to send about 1,800 parcels. So, but this was just the luck that someone noticed that. So another question was, in our company, well, me personally, I'm just trying to understand what's the biggest limitation of the company right now and remove that limitation. And sometimes this is the process, sometimes this is the tool, sometimes this is some people. So that's just how you do that. You just have to make sure that you're doing the most important thing right now. And I don't remember the end of the question, Nikita. So I think that
it was about secrets of building.
Okay, no secrets.
Okay. So we've got another question. How long does it take you to understand who is your company clients? I mean, who you are the best for? Thank you, Tatiana.
Well, that's actually the very good question. That's a very good question. And for me as a person, I really like tough clients. I really like difficult cases, just because then I will be able to see, the biggest difference between what was there before me and what was there. And it means that I usually talk to people that have a really strong mindset. They have strong beliefs in how things should be done, and And usually those beliefs, they are not done by any analysis at all. And that's my favorite. But for the company, you should understand when you are able to change the person, or when you are able to adapt to that person and help them. Because sometimes if you are not able to help them, or if you are not able to change their attitude, that would be a disaster for both of you, because then either they won't be happy, or you won't be happy. So what we are doing at the beginning, we are kind of bring a conflict between us and our company when we are trying to match their view of the world and how things should happen, and our view. And conflict, I mean, in a good way. We just trying to see how do they work, show how do we work, and discuss that consciously. Like, hey, this is the difference between us. This is what we think should be done, and this is why we think it should be done, and this is what you think, and let's try to find a match. This is how you understand if this is your company client or not.
Okay, thank you, Artem. We have 20 minutes. Maybe anyone have other questions? Oh, Justin King is already here. He's waiting. What do you think about future of e-commerce? Do you have any predictions? Thank you, Veronica.
Well, it depends on what future do you speak about. That's a very interesting question. The world is very different, and we've been working with some African companies, and those are the companies who, those are the companies, they don't even have laptops. They jumped strictly to the apps and mobile. That's very different from the United States, from Russia. So it's difficult to say in general. But what I think is that the world is going into interconnected but separate solutions for every part of the business. So what it means is that all different departments of the business, they would have different tools, different apps, but those apps will be connected into one big solution for the whole company and bring more value to the business. That's one thing. Another thing is that I believe that machines, artificial intellect and tools, they would actually manage the business, and the business grows. Because sometimes if you're using the right tool or the right algorithms, you don't have to have like management skills or know how to do the process well. The tool would just bring that for you. So that's my idea of the e-commerce. And well, definitely it will grow, because even my 5 years old daughter already buying some apps, and I'm trying to understand like, okay, where it comes from in my finance report, and it's just she's buying that. So e-commerce will be growing.
Okay, thank you, Artem, for your deep information. It was nice to hear that, and have a nice day.
Thanks a lot, Nikita. I hope that you felt the deepness of my information.
Yeah.
Well, thanks a lot, guys. You can get my my contacts from the email probably after the summit. I will be really happy to discuss the theory of constraints in web development or in e-commerce. Get very, very interesting cases. Thanks a lot.